Welcome to Keith and the Girl. I'm Keith Malley.
I'm Hamda.
I have an email here from Jeff. You can write to info@keithandthegirl.com. He says, KATG.com/VIP. I'm late. I'm sorry. I love it. My name is Keith Rules in Vodka Veritas. Jeff. Well, that's sweet. I love it. KeithandTheGirl.com/VIP. Take a look at what we're talking about. It's every show we've ever done from March of 2005 with endless spin-off shows, including this show I did, My Name is Keith, where me and the guest get drunk and they share all their secrets. I think you're going to like it a lot.
It's so funny because a couple of years of you hosting My Name is Keith getting drunk with the drunkiest of folks.
Yes.
And then it ends with half of those people, including you, deciding not to drink anymore.
Yes.
So we've been a part of a lot of people's journey under the My Name is Keith umbrella.
Who knew I had a problem, but there's a whole bunch of episodes there. All right. Today's guest from The Tonight Show, Jess Salomon. Hello, Jess.
Hi, Keith and Hamda. Nice to be here.
It's very exciting to see you. You can check out Jess's album, All the Best Choices. Congratulations, first off. When you do Jimmy Fallon and he holds,
yes,
and a lot of late nights do this, they hold your album up, it's a vinyl. Do you ever ask to take that home and they got to go, it's not real, there's no back to it, in fact?
I was ready to take it and put it on the record player. I was like, they actually printed one vinyl copy just for me.
Right?
No, it was just,
Okay.
I took everything that they gave me. I wanted to take, you signed the drumsticks from the Roots, and but they keep those.
Oh, that's cool.
I see.
It's so cool.
You sign it for the Roots?
They have the guests sign, like whoever the guests were that night. I think it's like a thing
That's
that
cool.
they do there.
Is that cool? I feel like that's cooler than you having their autograph is them having your autograph. That's cool.
It's like everything that whole experience in a nutshell is just like everything you would imagine you want your late night experience to be is that. You just feel so special, from like the SUV picking you up, dropping you off at 30 Rock. You're coming out of this car. All these tourists are like, oh my God, who is it? And you're like, it's nobody. They think it's someone from SNL. They're having their like New York moment. And then some unknown comedian gets out of the car with her friends from high school. It's like,
How early do you have to be there? And does that make it more nervous or less nervous?
I was so nervous. I can't remember. I think I was there pretty early. My show was airing on a Friday, Easter Friday. And so they taped my show on the Monday that week. So they taped two shows. So I had to wait for the show before me to be over. And then they did the second one. And the one before me was Cher, and it was going pretty long because she wanted to retake, I think, things. And
oh wow,
they were promoting the musical Cher was on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And there were several Chers, actually. There was like young Cher, medium Cher, real Cher. I mean, there was so I don't know what time they picked me up. I was probably later than most people because I was like, they were taping two and I was the second one.
Why'd she want to retake things? Did she say something controversial? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know. I think she's just, she's Cher and things have to be a certain way.
She loved it. She just wanted to show you that she can.
Exactly.
I think that's it. James.
There's another show after.
Right.
Like you got to wrap it up as if.
James Corden, the Late Show on CBS. He's retiring. In fact, Thursday will be his last show. And I heard some interviews with him, and he's saying like, hey, I got it. All of a sudden you blink and your kids are grown up and you didn't spend the quality time with the wife. Nothing's worth all this money. It just came out that the show's been losing $20 million a year. So when he says, how important is money? CBS is like, real important, dumb fuck.
Yeah, but they're still paying him. So it's
right.
What would he care if they're losing 20 million?
The program was netting less than 45 million. The annual production cost was 65 million.
What was part of the production that was cost? Somebody in budget is maybe in trouble.
Those lights shine bright.
Carpool karaoke.
Right, all the tickets they got. That shit's illegal, quite frankly. Yeah, the price of gas. He's like, but this
You gotta
made me. It's
factor
like, we
that
can't
in.
afford it. Yeah.
The price of coffee has gone up, gas has gone up. You can't just also you're doing karaoke, you got to pay for that song. Ugh.
Right.
Mhm. That's true.
Jess is new to Keith and the Girl, and we're going to get into her story. I think it's very interesting. But big news first: Hollywood writers are going on strike. First, I think the poll should be: did you know that these late night shows have writers? I'm surprised how people don't seem to know it. More than 11,000 members of the Writers Guild of America are going to go on strike for the first time in 15 years.
Holy shit. First of all, 15 years, shame on Hollywood. That's not a long time for somebody to strike you again, right? I mean, come on. That's pretty much like half a generation or a generation. Do you know how I found out that the strike actually was happening? Yesterday, I sent out some emails to people like, hey, want to be on the show, blah, blah, blah. And for Nick Vatterott and Nick Turner, I was like, hey, you guys want to be on the show together? Let's see if we can coordinate. And Nick Vatterott was like, I just got to check if this strike is happening or not. And this was yesterday.
Right.
And so I'll get back to you. This morning, Nick Turner wrote, he's like, looks like the strike is on, so we can make Nick Vatterott do anything we want. He has to say yes. So we know that he's free and they're coming on the show.
Right. WGA members voted 98% in favor of going on strike if no new deal is reached. The big thing being people aren't getting paid for their show streaming, which obviously you should be paid. Right. I think how was it 98% though? 2% is like, I'm just happy to be here.
Maybe. Right.
Gabs.
So we'll
2% that voted against.
2% said, no, I don't want to, I don't want to make trouble. It's anonymous. Nah, but it's a good job to have. What's the problem? So it'll affect daytime soap operas. I didn't know people wrote those. I'll tell you that. Late night shows, things like SNL, of course.
What happens on soap operas? They just go walk into a room and pretend you smell something and go with that. And they're like, have you cheated on me?
JP McDade wrote, I support the WGA, even though most of you hacks are talentless nepotism cases who bitch and moan about about your easy job because you've never had a real one, and you wouldn't be half the comedy writer I am if I had a severe concussion. # stand with WGA. All right, good.
And you got to know JP to know that he's completely joking and he's very, very humble human being. But that is how people treat each other, right? It's like, oh, that hack got a writing job. Oh, I guess you could just get a writing job, right? Until it's time for you to be one.
We had the Met Gala. How exciting, Jess. Don't you love it? Don't you love the glamour and the glitz?
I can't get enough.
You can't get enough, right? Look at these outfits. It's like, what? You know what I'm saying? What? Look at that. Oh my God.
Saw Rihanna was wearing, her dress had $25 million worth of Cartier jewels. And apparently she had this secret, this is a tweet I saw, had a secret 3 a.m. trial or fitting. And someone was like, Anne Hathaway could do the most hilarious thing right now. Because Anne Hathaway was there. And I'm pretty sure that's like the plot to one of the Oceans. Right. Ocean's 8. I don't know. Yeah. Where it all takes place at the Met Gala and they steal anyway.
The glitz, the glamour. I typed into Google this year's and it auto fills in this year's Met Gala thing. What a big deal. It's such a big deal, the Met Gala. I don't get it, but it's such a big deal that if you're expected to attend and you can't last minute for whatever reason, that becomes news. Who's not coming to the Met Gala? Jonathan Majors, the guy that's in trouble for multiple sexual assault cases. He can't make it. That makes the paper. Blake Lively, known for many appearances, confirmed last week she can't attend. This is a real exciting thing. It happens here in New York City. It's fashion's biggest night. It's organized by Vogue. These people that you see in the fancy outfits, never mind the price of that, they have to pay $50,000 to be seen.
Oh.
I mean, it's a big deal, right? So yesterday, we happened to be biking by there without realizing it. All of a sudden, we're heading towards the park, and there's a bunch of people in front of a hotel that look like they're waiting for some celebrity to come through. So I bike in front of the gates. You know, they like put blockades in front of them, and I'm like, hey, look, if you have a bike, you could just bike right in front of the hotel. And also, I think people, they block themselves, right? So they're standing there, but really you could be in front of the hotel. Anyway, any glance of people coming out of the hotel in their outfits on their way, catching them with any kind of Met Gala adjacent thing. And people are standing there patiently with their cameras out. It is unbelievable. And you pass by that because we're biking. We can go miles around the city and outer boroughs and whatever. There's always something that you pass where people are waiting with cameras, knowing somebody's about to come out of somewhere. It's such a weird city like that.
Today's theme, yesterday's theme, 2023 Gala's theme was Karl Lagerfeld, a line of beauty. So it really doesn't matter what the theme is. I think one year it was like the theme was Catholicism, so they wore whatever dress they planned all year and then threw a cross on it. So
Catholicism is a theme.
Religion, I believe, was a theme.
Religion.
But there was a lot of heavy Catholic representation that year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was some people, there's a couple celebrities that really go for it. I know last night Karl Lagerfeld has a famous cat that he left like all of his money to called Choupette.
Yeah.
So there were a couple people dressed as Choupette. Doja Cat was dressed as a cat.
As a cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put pictures on the website. When something's so popular like the Met Gala, I wish I got it. But like you, Jess, it seems I look at these pictures. I'm like, okay. I don't know.
I mean, I enjoy looking at the pictures. I enjoy looking at the jokes and in the event. There was a cockroach. Did you guys see that? There was a on the carpet.
What was it wearing? Who was it wearing? Yeah.
It was a line of beauty. It was a line of beauty making its way in to this event. I mean, look, there's a lot of things that people get excited about, like sports, that I don't follow.
Right.
So, this is for me. I'm not a huge Met Gala person, but I'll flip through the pictures, and there's a couple of actresses, I mean, that I like, that I find sexy. And
I'll tell you this, if I won the lotto, you would see me there with an outfit. Absolutely. I would pay the $50,000 and I would walk around in something weird. But what I would want is, the show Grace and Frankie. So a Frankie outfit, but more money, because I guess you're supposed to, like the fancy version of me trying to get some sort of ring from Middle Earth, like that kind of something.
All right.
I've heard next year's theme is Grace and Frankie. I think they're floating that as a
Don't
possible.
make her jealous. Don't make her jealous.
You got a year to get there.
They don't get filler for a year. I'm seeing The Onion has a news article. Nostalgic woman hopes Barbie movie lives up to girlhood body dysmorphia. So fingers crossed. Women's magazine Allure has put the transgender influencer Dylan Mulvany on the cover, the Bud Light woman. Mm-hmm. And now men are pretending they're going to boycott Allure.
What a great ad. What a great ad for Budweiser.
Oh my God. This Kid Rock doesn't have to shoot up the magazine, does he? One dude wrote, I haven't supported any of their stuff in a decade. Okay. Because you knew a decade earlier they'd be supporting something that's silly to you. There's a lot of influence. No, it's okay. Let's see. There's a lot of influencers that love to give into the drama of it all, Mulvaney said, but I'm so not a real housewife. I never like to make anyone feel bad about anything. All right.
Was that a shot at the housewives or like, I'm not sure. I'm not a real house. Who is that a shot at?
I'm not a stupid Kardashian. I don't want people to feel bad.
Right. Like, I don't know that you should take down the housewives. Is it regular housewives or just the housewives of TV?
Just Real Housewife. I'm not a real housewife, but in caps.
Okay.
It sounds like a him problem.
Right. A Massachusetts boy claims he was sent home from school a few weeks ago for wearing a T-shirt that declared there are, quote, only two genders. The boy was 12. Yeah, hate isn't taught. Right. Of course it is. Hate is taught.
Hate is bought a bit. I guess.
He didn't go, I got to get a shirt and wear it tomorrow that says there's only two genders. It's important. Like, your parents made you do that.
Now okay. So stupid. Uniforms for everyone as a kid. Just express yourself some other way. Have the balls to say it out loud instead of I have to fucking read your shirt now. What is, like I remember my brother wearing Guns N' Roses t-shirts. You couldn't wear that to school.
Right.
You can wear some stuff to school. I'm more uniforms. What do you guys feel?
Uniforms 100%.
Right.
I had a uniform since kindergarten to grade 11, which was where we ended as high school in Montreal. And my school was called Miss Edgar's and Miss Cramp School, which is a real school and not a chapter in Harry Potter. And our school mascot was the beaver. The school mascot of my all-girls school was the beaver. We had the beaver on the crest of our uniform.
Stop. Oh
It
my
was
God.
there was a Latin phrase that translated not for yourselves, but for others, which seems so inappropriate. It's still there. Absolutely. But it was.
So you didn't mind wearing a uniform for all of those years?
No, it was great not to have to think about what you're wearing, like to take away one other way you could be judged or feel insecure. I
Also,
learned to tie a tie. Came in handy later as a lesbian. Yeah.
And you grew up in Montreal. So you guys finish high school in 11th grade. Is that because you pick up things faster and you're like, I don't know why these Americans need a 12th grade. I already know French and English. What else am I supposed to know?
Yeah, that's true. And of course, but also we have 3 years of university and then we've got like 2 years of something in between. So it all kind of works out the same. So after grade 11, you go to something called Cégep, which is like kind of like a college for 2 years. And then you do 3 years of university of like a BA. So I don't know what the theory is there, but like in between, like you like almost like they thought you needed something between high school and college.
Yeah, that's your parents thinking that. And they're like, well, you can't just have them in my house.
Right.
You and your wife, Eman, I'm saying that correctly, right?
Yeah.
You would sometimes do comedy shows together. Looking things up, it seems you don't anymore. Is there a reason? Did it really create hassle? It could. You can still be at work as hassle.
Keith, you are so observant because we never really made a formal announcement that we were taking a break from the duo act, but we have been. I think it's been a full year since we performed. We've been on like, shows where we do our own stand-up set back to back.
Right.
We're still kind of doing that, but in terms of working together as a duo, the pandemic, like, working together to begin with wasn't something that we wanted to do. It was just that everybody wanted to see us together because they're like, we talk about each other in our sets and they're like, oh my God,
you're Jewish, she's Palestinian,
lesbian married couple. Like we got, and so we got to see that on stage together. So we did it for the fans and also because we weren't getting booked alone. And but that wasn't going well behind the scenes. Like we're so different, and a lot of things that started out as jokes became real. I don't know if you've had that in your relationships where it seems like fun and like we're so different in this way, you're like this, and then you're like something that was like literally a joke you said on stage or a cartoon on your account is like now something that you're like seriously fighting about. And then the pandemic just accelerated all of it because then we didn't have any space for ourselves and like everybody, I think it was hard on relationships in general, but plus working together. And I will say this, we had this podcast through 3 seasons, a lot of it, mostly all during the pandemic with the BBC, and we hired JP to write on our podcast.
Right.
And he was amazing. And probably we were never in the same room, but I always felt bad for whoever the writer was that was dealing with like us and all of the extreme tension.
That's, what I would also pick JP McDade to write lesbian comedy. I don't something about golf. Well, what kind of stuff was he writing? He's punching.
Oh, well, this was for a podcast that we had with the BBC World Service. So it wasn't really our thing. And we had a budget to hire stuff. Like we weren't hiring anyone to help us write our stand-up together. This was like current events and
Okay, so next time JP is on
heavily
the
censored.
show, we're gonna ask him about you guys. What do you think he'll say?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know his perspective. I know that at a certain point it was clear that like Eman went on tour and I was mostly sort of running things. I don't know what he would say. I don't know how obvious it was. I think it was pretty obvious that things weren't going great. Like on the other, like in the text thread between us that he was on,
Like you're
well,
arguing,
Iman,
like you're arguing with your wife.
yeah, like it's sort of like, hey JP, well, I guess Eman didn't do this thing, or
Nah.
Eman's not really showing up right now. So why don't you and I guess, take care
I'm
of
in
it.
the kitchen, bitch. She's not showing up. So did the pandemic, did you guys have to sit down and go, this isn't good for our relationship, or the pandemic happened and you were just in no hurry to start making jokes together? Was it easy to not work together?
We really tried because we saw that it was something special, and it was also something that we were getting booked for a lot of money to travel and go do our duo act together, because it is like such a novelty for people. And even when we started working together on stage as a duo act, like it was a bit of some things that were written together and properly, like a duo bit, and other parts that were like a joke from my set, a joke from her set that we would kind of weave. But even when at the beginning, when it wasn't so good, audiences were still so into it, and they'd be like, we love that. I'm like, what? We thought it went terrible, because it's just such a novelty. And there's a reason why it's such a novelty and there aren't a lot of duo acts. I mean, like Jesus and Mero broke up and they're not even in a relationship. Like to be like, you have to be a twin. Like you have to have been in a womb together.
Right.
And have one brain, and you're like, that's the thing that everyone's like, wow, they're like one person. But like, if it's your wife, because you guys know when you're doing comedy with someone, you want to be able to like brainstorm and like have this free flow of ideas. We're like, yeah, I don't think that's funny. What about this? But like, if it's your partner who's like, yeah, I don't like that, it's like, forget it. And then to try to separate,
because
like,
you have to like make up for it for the rest of the day. So you're in this space for, let's say, an hour where you freely have to criticize each other. I mean, after the show, we put notes together and we have to pick a title. If I pick a title that Keith is not into it, he goes like this, eh. And you just want to, if you're having a bad day, it's like, you could be nice about it. And like, why? What's the point? He could be nice about it, or we could move the fuck on. I can understand I'm having a bad day, and let's just fucking finish this. But if you get all day and you're so excited and passionate about your idea, and they're like, I'm not going to pass. And it's like, who are you to pass me or not pass me? I've been telling jokes for fucking ever. And so you have to if you're in a relationship, you have to go like, sweetheart, I just came back from work. I don't know what you've been doing all day, but my writing partner is hilarious. I hope she knows that. And you have to pretend to be like other people. I say do that, because it changes from the workspace to the personal space, to pretend you're not that person and go, God, my writing partner was so smart. I had to turn down a couple of ideas, but man, I think most of that was all her. How was your day?
I mean, it's too late for this advice, but I wish that's a great idea. If I could turn back time.
What's the
reference?
What's the meanest thing you ever threw out in a fight? Did you ever bring up, you don't even have a real country? Like where could it go?
I mean, on that topic, I don't think this is too dark, but well, I think the meanest thing was that, there were a lot of days during the pandemic where it'd be a lot like, did you send that email? And she'd say, no, I was really busy. And it's like, well, we're in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, I know.
Quarantine. Like, I've been watching you all day. You've been on Candy Crush on your phone. Like, I know you're not busy, Right. And so, things escalated. And I guess for me, the worst things, it would be like, well, like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you so lazy? And it turned out it wasn't laziness. It was anxiety and depression, not laziness as I had diagnosed, So right. I like at some point things kind of took a turn, like mental health wise. And then it became a bit like Israel Palestine, because she could do no wrong because she was fighting depression and anxiety. And so, whenever I'm like, well,
Right.
like, why don't you do something? Or like, you're not helping me, or you are this or that. It's like, yeah, well, I'm not well, like I have
Right.
depression, like I need, like there was always, that became, in the sense of, I'm framing this assuming that the idea being that, if you're resisting an occupation, the violence is always justified. Does that make sense? That was maybe a bit too much of a leap, but
Well, I feel like
like someone's freedom fighter is someone else's terrorist or whatever. Yeah.
right. But there's a theory, I think, and I think you might be right. Like in a couple, you can't be going through, it's just too challenging to go through something at the same time. Like if one of you is depressed or just lost a parent, or just if one of you is going through the big thing, the other one of you, hopefully it's not your turn yet. So when the pandemic hit, I think both sides of the couples hit their regular shit and this thing. And now you're both going through something at the same time. So no one can truly be there for each other. And now you're just fucking in a room. That's a lot.
Is it like
Yeah.
Israel and Palestine in that you're always the bad guy because your mental health is better and bigger and stronger? And
I get a lot of funding from the American government.
Right. is it tough not to take dating somebody with depression personally? Like your partner's walk. That's the way I'm guessing. I'm making it up, but you walk around, we're in love, and you're all doom and gloom, and I don't know how I don't take it personal. Like, oh, your life's so bad, sweetheart. Do you have to check yourself like that or no?
Keith is saying that he would have to check himself.
I would have to check myself. I see people right on social media. Life sucks. Everything's shit, and I'm like, I happen to know your girlfriend. Does that bum her out if she's subscribed to you?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I felt bad about is, like, what role did I play? Because she didn't have this before,
Right. You're depressed now that we're married. Jesus.
No, but I mean, the thing that we had to keep us going and why we were like, well, we're going to take a pause on the duo act because our marriage is more important and we're committed to that, is that we had like 8 amazing years before we started working together. So we're like, we had such a big foundation that we're like, we got to be able to get back there. But with the working together and then the pandemic, at one point, Eman went to like a mental health facility, like an inpatient place. And it was like very nice. And it was in Malibu, and I found it for her. And it was like, and so there was the side of like, wow, like what a supportive partner, finding her this beautiful place to like take the time to really, recover. But then there's the other part that's like, your wife is in a mental health facility. Like, how crazy did you make this woman?
Right.
Where you do
That's
start
so
to
funny.
kind of be like,
She goes, they want to talk to you, Jess. Like me.
That's funny, because what I would more lean on that I would not be so proud of is when's it my turn? Can I go next? Like, I'll be here, you can go rest and rejuvenate and whatever. And then can you hold on the fort? And then I'll go rest and rejuvenate.
I did though later, but not at a mental. I went skiing like for a week. I went by myself, and that was my like, because I did at a certain point. I was at the end of my rope, and I'm like, I won't be able to. So that was, but no, I definitely have that. And I was like, when is my turn? And I like started planning it.
Plan when it can be your turn, that you're bummed out and you have to wait on me. As much as the depression could bother you, you also should take personally. You made her gay. First woman she was ever with. Now that's okay. You get good and bad, right?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
How exciting.
Can I tell you that this was my biggest credit in comedy, and maybe still is, outside of the Tonight Show, was making Eman gay. I would like, there were so many, the first year, because she'd never been in a relationship before. She'd never been in love. She was truly like single girl, party girl, like hooked up with guys, not interested. And it took so much work to get her, because she just, all of her comedy too, and she was like 5 years into comedy, so she was like starting to tape things for TV in Canada. Her whole act, everything was like about being this single party straight girl. And
you ruined it.
and yeah, I did. Yeah, well, that's why she jokes that she thought I was a Mossad agent who had come to sabotage her career. You know? That's a classic Mossad technique. You know, take a war crimes lawyer, throw them in there to do comedy, marry a Palestinian, find a one-bed solution. You know,
would you ever have to like sit her down and be like, listen, I'm not saying I'm right, I'm not saying you're right, but I'm right. I've been in love before. I understand my feelings. Is it ever tough like that? Like, hey, it'd be scary to me at first. Like, if somebody was into me, but they weren't in love before, I'd be like, is that a lot of pressure?
It's a lot of pressure
Yeah.
because her entire understanding of love and romance is based solely on romantic comedies. So, you know, which is, yeah. So it's like grand romantic gestures.
You have to keep leaving meetings to tell her, hi, I love you for no reason. And you get fired.
I have to run after the cab when she's going to the airport, bang on it and beg her to stay.
Right.
There's a lot of poster board and signs. And yeah, I know. You know, I have that too. And I've been in love before, but I have to check what is realistic and what I've been taught from movies that I really want. It's really interesting. And I fucking hate navigating that because you don't know what you want anymore because, you know, Valentine's Day comes along and I'm like, I'm not participating in this. This is crazy. But it starts being a competition. What did your boyfriend, what did your girlfriend, what did your partner get you? And it's like, I don't know. They got me the dishes. I don't know what to expect anymore. I think I'm just supposed to say thank you.
Because do you say like you're not participating, but then you want Valentine's Day to be romantic because of everything around you or people asking you and you feel like a pressure?
No, it's more like I don't want to push romance aside because of the magic beans that we were sold. I want to make our own beans, you know? So I'm not pushing away romance completely. Like you don't get off the hook that much, but I want it to be more what we decided. So I'm not paying double for flowers just because today is a day, but you might take some lotion and apply it to my body. And that's how we do romance. And we could, and sometimes we take Valentine's Day off proper. And sometimes it's, you know, the 16th because it's just a little more conducive to our schedule. But it has to exist because otherwise we're just besties who see each other naked.
Right.
Yeah.
Jess has joked, I made her gay, my wife, and she made me pro-Palestinian. Do the two of you, are you the go-to of your friends about, hey, what's going on in the Middle East? You know what I mean? Or did they go, yeah, this Hamas, it's out of control. It's like, oh yeah, you read the one article everybody read, and now I got to fill you in about shit.
Yeah,
Does
and
that happen?
Has Homeland turned everything into, oh, that's what's really happening? And if that's the case, the CIA sucks because according to Homeland, they miss everything. But anyway, I'm from Israel. I was born there, raised in Queens. Can you explain to me what the fuck? I don't know.
Who are we into?
Oh, yeah. Well,
can you just summarize it?
I mean, what I'll say is that I, over the years, have had like a big, and well, slow, but at different points kind of change in my thinking, you know, because I didn't grow up in a very religious or very Zionist household. Like I went to this Miss Edgar's and Miss Cram school, very waspy school. And,
You look Irish.
I know. But I did have, I did go to synagogue on my high holidays. We did have Shabbat. Not that we like were kosher or didn't drive or anything, but we had like dinner and I had some after school Hebrew school.
You were a Christmas and Easter Jew, right? Like if you were Christian, you'd be going to Sunday school sometimes. You'd definitely be in church at Christmas. Some Sundays were like, I don't know, there's a special holiday around there, that kind of thing.
I love that you're like, or like, would you be this kind of Christian? And when both of us are like, what is it that they do? You know, on Sunday that they, I'm like,
there might be a special Sunday. I don't know.
Would you be that kind of Christian that we don't know what we're talking about? Yes, exactly. I would be that. that one on the Sunday. Maybe once I'd go to that thing with in the box with a priest and be like, how many Hail Marys for shoplifting a Cadbury's egg this year? What I don't know. But I did, I think that there was a lot of things that I've realized now growing up, like in terms of Zionism, how pervasive it is, even if you're not so much like so in deep in the community. Like, for example, like those trees that like as a kid, it really planting a tree in Israel. I was, into the environment and worried about the environment even back then,
Could we just pause? There's a holiday. And it just passed. It's called Tu B'Shvat, right? And you actually plant a tree. So we would do it, in Jewish school, we would plant a tree in Israel because there would be programs where you can it's like adopting a child, like you send the check, they plant the tree. Every year it's a big plant a tree day. I think it's just because they're trying to develop the country, right? It's still so new.
Well, that's not true.
Not true.
As I've, it's like, these are the things that seem so nice and kind of, apolitical.
The trees are for cover during war.
The tree, no, but the trees are, they're part of the settlement project. That's, the group that raises the money to plant the trees is using them and taking over, Palestinian land.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we bought the trees to go to push the marker.
Yeah.
Nobody told me that.
No, but
nobody told me that.
No, I know. But so there's a lot of things that people come at me with. They're like the talking points that they grew up with. And I'm like, and I don't want to, it's such a classic thing that, I've done before where I learned something like yesterday and I'm like, you ignorant person, you didn't know, like I learned the word abolition, like a day before. And now I'm, people are like, what? Abolish the police. What are you going to do? You're a woman. Like, aren't you afraid of rape? And I'm like, do you want to know how many untested rape kits there are? And I literally just read that. So that happens. But I try to have it's harder with family. Like I have no patience, but of course, with people you don't know as well, it's easier to have a little bit more, empathy for and remember, there are a lot of things that I didn't realize. And it's about exposure, it's like, I now have a lot of Palestinian sources in my feed, and it's the thing I can compare it to is the summer of, let's say, George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, how white people really truly started to, not that things changed, but understand that there was so much we didn't know. There was so much history. I mean, I did not know that there was any kind of slavery in Canada, because there were so many moments where I was like, okay, yeah, but not Canadians, and then I was like, well, Jews didn't own slaves. And I'm going down these rabbit holes because they're taking down the statue of James McGill from McGill University, because apparently he was a slave owner. And that's where I went to university. And then I'm like, oh yeah, but Jews weren't doing that, and then it's and he bought his slaves from Levi Solomon. I'm like, what? Do there's so many things that we haven't been taught. And it's similar, like that as well.
Like I said, I was born in Israel, but we moved here when I was 4.5. But I have been hearing Israeli things. I just thought people were trying to take our country. I don't know. And now it's well, do I have a country? I wouldn't fight for anybody's country. So don't ask me for the US. Don't ask me for Israel. I don't know how to take a gun and just start shooting at whoever you tell me is my enemy now. So I'm not doing that. But I did grow up with, whenever we visited, every building had something called the miklat, which is to save you from bombs that are coming. So every building had a bomb shelter. And now the new buildings have every one of the rooms in your apartment or in your house has to be a bomb shelter. There's always a bomb shelter. There was always, if you see something, say something on the bus, there was actual signs, Chafez Chashud, which is suspected equipment.
Package.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you leave something on the bus, they really did that. That was always the case in Israel. Always the case. People are after us. People are after us. In yeshiva, I learned about how we were slaves. I learned about how people took down our synagogues. We were always fighting. We were always running away from something. So I'm like, oh, people are always trying to get us. By the time I went to high school that had nothing to do with Judaism, I was hiding my Star of David. I was hiding, like my face doesn't give me away, but I didn't want to be extra Jewy in front
Hey
of
guys,
people.
it's Hemda. Nice to meet you.
I thought I
I
had a
don't have
moment.
the Star of David under here.
Maybe I could fit in with the Greeks or something. I don't know. I could hide in plain
You
sight.
really, you could.
Right?
You could actually.
So Tikanis, I don't know. But then so I'm thinking like, well, why would we have these bomb shelters if it wasn't for these specific people? Every time a bomb lands there, it is these people. And so I absolutely had that in my head. And then it's like, oh, well, your country was born when? And it's like just decades ago. Who do you think had the country before that? And I was like, fuck, Jesus was a Jew? Hold up. You know, like all of those things blew my mind. Went to yeshiva 9 years. On the 9th year, they decided to reveal that Jesus was a Jew. You know how angry I was? I was like, this whole fucking time, you didn't tell me Jesus was a Jew. Okay, that's an interesting timing on my way out. All right, great. So all of those things, I'm like, oh my God, it was so one-sided. That should be so obvious. And I don't know what to do now. I don't know. I feel like I should just stay out of it because I don't know.
Tell me something bad about Canada. You came from Canada, you came to America. Next thing you know, Trump's elected, Roe versus Wade overturned, but it seems you like America better. Tell me why I'm not missing out on Canada.
You want something bad? Well, I came to New York for comedy. But something bad about Canada. It's freezing, although less so every year. We have I mean, historically, I'd say the gravest injustice that, it still is part of the fabric of the country systemically, et cetera, is the treatment of Indigenous peoples. Not that it's different here. It just like somehow I don't think the conversation has gotten there because after that there was slavery. And so that's sort of the biggest foundational crime here. I don't even know. That's like seeped into every aspect of the country. But in
Canada still sounds great.
I know.
Nice try.
Yeah, you had to go back to the 1600s. What am I going to do with that information?
No, but I would say and I think this maybe was the case here as well, but that we had these residential schools that only some of them closed in my lifetime. And those were schools that the church and the government forced Indigenous children into to assimilate them into white Canadian Christian world and away from their traditional languages, heritage.
At least they seem very sorry about that, though, right? So that's good news.
I mean, there was this huge commission that was done. Yeah, they're very sorry about it, and then not really addressing it so much. But yeah, there was the crimes that were committed in those schools is, a lot of sexual abuse.
I
understand that. Kids.
But we also have Catholic schools here, and I don't know. I bet we can.
No, well, this was the church that was running these schools, so it's not. Yeah, I know, but no real accountability on any of that. But Justin Trudeau has a native tattoo on his arm, so.
There you go. Everything he wants to apologize for, he tattoos on his arm. It gets a little nuts. Before you were a comedian, you were a lawyer, and you fought war crimes. What is it about comedians? I know so many comedians that were lawyers. Is it because you saw on TV lawyer shows and you're like, basically it's stand up, I can do that? It just seems you want to get the jury on your side, and that it's really just a show in these movies.
I think a lot of people look at stand up and think they could do it. I did. I mean, I was working at this war crimes tribunal in The Hague, and at the time, you could like watch television on your computer. So I wasn't just limited to Grey's Anatomy in Dutch, but I was able to, torrenting stuff in those days, and like the Daily Show and the American Office. And I started, classically to see my workplace as a sitcom. Like it has everything. It's got the law show built in. It's got the international aspect, the procedural, the comedy, the workplace sitcom. And so originally I was like, I'm going to go and do that. And when I left to go try to figure out how to write the sitcom, I started doing stand-up as like a class, and then I got hooked on it. But really when I left, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go, I'll give myself 2 years. If I don't have like a special and a TV show, like I'll know it's not for me. And I didn't know anything,
Yeah.
And then I'll just like, no big deal. Just go back to law. I'm sure they'll take me. And, and I should say, I was also watching a lot of The Daily Show at the time. And it was like the heyday where Jon Stewart was pointing out hypocrisies on his show, where it's like, no, but look, this is the tape where they said the opposite thing. And then,
Right.
and it was like, and at that time it was like having an impact on the discourse. Tucker Carlson, like Crossfire, got canceled on CNN. And so there was a piece of me too that was like, oh, like
they're just presenting evidence.
Advocacy.
Yeah. They're presenting evidence and having a punchline. So we'll keep listening.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like.
And just like there's, I just wanted to do something more creative, and like law isn't super fun. Although like at least the area of law I was in was like attached, like connected to politics and
war crimes,
it wasn't just contract. Yeah, it was war like crimes. It was sexy in a way. And the UN, working at the UN where I was, like I loved that international environment. People were really dark and funny. It was a really good salary, and the tribunal where I was at was processing like all of the people that were indicted, because it was we dealt with the former Yugoslavia war, the former Yugoslavian wars. And at some point, and this is never the case with the other war crimes tribunals, it just so happened that, the EU existed. And if those countries of the former Yugoslavia wanted to become part of the EU, they had to turn over the people who were indicted, the former, generals and police heads and Milosevic, and they were protecting them to a certain extent for a while. And then the cost of not joining the EU became greater than the cost of the national shame of cooperating with us and turning them over. And so it just
so much comedy material. I could completely see like why you pivoted.
Like, sorry.
Yes.
This is
What's
no, I feel I'm looking at the graph of your listeners, and this is where they're like, you lost everybody.
do you have an inside scoop on the Russia and Ukraine? Are you able to see both sides of that?
I mean, I don't know how both sides it is, but
I don't either, but maybe there's something I'm missing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that there's evidence being collected of war crimes being committed. I think that the Ukrainians might be committing some war crimes, but not, I don't think it's like both sides. There's rules of the rules of war, the laws of war can be broken even by a side that is not the initial aggressor.
What's the best rule of war?
What's your favorite rule?
Yeah. What's the one that stands out where you're like,
You shouldn't use babies as human shields. What's your personal thing?
Right. Like maybe there's the obvious ones, or maybe there's the one that should be obvious.
And does anything get done? Do things get done? Let's say, we're putting Putin up for war crimes, and Putin goes, yeah, I don't think you are though. And we go, okay, we did our best. How do you catch these? How do you punish these guys unless you take over their country?
Yeah, I mean, the UN doesn't have an independent. I mean, I can think of several rules of, laws of war, but I couldn't think of anyone that was like particularly funny. Although, like, I know that there are, and I just, anyways, I'm going to say, I don't miss the law. I miss the people I used to work with, and that world a little bit, but not really working with the law. But what else did you ask me besides I got stuck going through the Geneva Conventions in my head trying to find something funny, and I was like,
I think that's everything.
I'll get back to you guys on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's a heavy job, right?
Yeah, I was in the least heavy part because I was working for the judge's side. So I wasn't, the prosecution going through evidence and or the defense, dealing with defending.
That's so smart. Be a lawyer, but be on the judge's side.
I worked.
Oh my God, you're so smart. War crimes.
Thank you.
That should be a war crime. That's crazy. Oh, guys, I'm on the judge's side. And you know what? If there's a jury, on your side too. Here we go.
Right.
I mean, the craziest thing that happened when I was there was that Milosevic died, who was like our most famous accused that was in detention. And
he made your in memoriam at the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. But when I just started working for the Chief Justice, who's the president of the tribunal, and that
Of course.
he had just become president. And when Milosevic died in the detention center, so there was a lot of media, and Kofi Annan, who at the time was a Secretary General, he came and like to try to lift the spirits of. There were people that had worked on that case for 4 years. It was like,
oh my God, you at a
trial.
social dinner during this time, like, well, Kofi Annan, right? Everybody knows Kofi Annan. Everyone's like, how's your salad? What?
Right. Switching gears, tell me what you guys think about this, because it's kind of pissing me off, and I don't know if it's supposed to. Roman Polanski, if he comes back in the States, he gets arrested. He skipped town after raping a 13-year-old. There's a picture online now of the 13-year-old, now 45 years later, 60 years old, with her arm around Roman Polanski. She says he already got punished enough. It's really upsetting me.
Okay, I mean, I understand.
I'm just digesting it. I find. Do we know what the circumstances are around?
Drugged and raped when she was 13.
No, sorry. I mean, the circumstances around the picture today.
No, we don't know yet. So, who knows? Maybe he's just showing her a nice lifestyle. And she's like, okay, I can forgive it. Nice hotel, nice food. I don't know.
It might be her just going through what she needs to go through to get over it. She might be practicing some sort of forgiveness in order for this not to be her whole life anymore.
That's so smart, Kim. I think that makes sense.
I know that it feels funny to us, but I feel like something's going on, and it's 45 years later. I think we can be okay with her being wherever she is in the process, even though, it probably feels yucky.
Is us not talking to our parents seem kind of petty?
Always.
Right?
Always. I'm always like, am I doing the right thing? Should I just call them? What was wrong? But then I remember in the history of me just calling them, I cry.
Samantha Geimer is her name. Polanski's wife, who interviewed Geimer for a French magazine, put the picture out on social media and said, thank you, Samantha, with a heart emoji.
I mean, and the wife is involved in this story.
And the wife's involved. Like, hey, look, you guys worked it out.
Yeah.
You guys worked it out.
That makes it a little bit. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but I don't know. I mean, it's as you say,
it's uncomfortable, but it feels like criticizing it would make it worse for everybody. It's uncomfortable, but because she's involved, we don't want to point and say, what the fuck? It's uncomfortable. Sure. And we just want to keep it to ourselves. Although we want to make mention that we don't know what to do with this and it's breaking our brain, but it must have done and is still doing, or maybe you're over it. I don't know. I
didn't forgive Chris Brown, even though Rihanna did, when Chris Brown slammed her head in the car door. I'm supposed to look at this fucking Polanski thing and be like, okay, then. It's just ugly.
Yeah. But I guess you don't have to. I don't have to. The law doesn't have to. But
I'm on the judge's side, apparently.
Right.
That's the way out of everything.
Yeah. This is what it's like. I don't know what side to be on. Judge side.
This is exciting, though. I'll tell you good news. Jess is recording her album, a new album.
Yes.
You're going to call it Sad Witch?
Sad Witch is the title. I don't think I'm going to change it. That's what I've been calling the shows leading up to it. I was, as you guys already know from the little we've gotten into that topic on this podcast, it's been a rough couple of years. And I don't know if you guys have had this experience, but, people ask like, how are you? Like not really needing the answer. And I was at a show and I was trying to seem normal, like normal to positive. And the host, people were like, how are you? I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm, good. Anyway, I thought I was being normal. And the host asked me how I wanted to be introduced. And I said, just tell them I have a show tomorrow night called Sandwich. And he was like, yeah, absolutely no problem. Then he proceeded to get up on stage and was like, your next comedian, super funny. She has a show called Sad Witch. And I was like, yeah,
Right.
That is the energy I've been giving off. And now that is the title of this next album. The last one that you mentioned is only, I think, available on iTunes. It's not on Spotify or Sirius because I don't know. I signed that Spoken Giants thing. I don't know if you guys know that whole story, but anyways.
There's a sorry in your tone as you're saying, like,
already.
Guys, it's not but
I got involved in a copyright thing and it's hard to find my first album. And I recorded it the night of the midterms in 2018, November 6th. I didn't realize that was the midterms, and it was the first midterms after Trump. And it was like just not, the album turned out great, but it was like my memory of the whole thing.
You're definitely a comic because you're like, here's where you can't find my album. It's like, thank you. That's helpful.
Right.
I will not look for it there.
What's a copyright issue? What's the problem?
Do you guys did not hear about that? Yeah. So there's a company called Spoken Giants, and everyone was like, sign with them. It's like a win-win. They were basically trying to get the royalties for comedians of the writing of the joke. So the way that not just the performance of it. So the way that a songwriter gets the royalty for the songwriting, and then there's the royalty for the performance, and then the publisher gets the publishing royalties. So they're trying to recoup these royalties in comedy, and that had never been like asked for. And so the label that I had my album with was also, I think, like partly invested with this company, Spoken Giants. And anyway, they're right. But everyone was like, it's like kind of a no lose situation. My manager, like a lot of other comics. And
you're a lawyer. Did you read your own contract?
I am.
Okay, we can close now.
But I will say,
I'm a comic now.
I never said I was a good lawyer, guys.
You read the judge's papers, not these. You're the only one who knows the language. Okay.
Yeah, I know the laws of war, not showbiz. But yeah,
thing, buddy.
Yeah.
You can check out the special. The recording is on June 29th, 7:30 and 10 p.m. Union Hall here in New York City. Fantastic place.
Love the venue.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great time. And I'm excited to like lay down. It's been a while since I recorded my last album, so I've got a lot of hot tracks.
Where are you not recording it?
Where are you not recording it? That's
right. Manhattan, New Jersey, Staten Island, the Bronx,
How much pressure is it? How much pressure is it to put out an album like this? This is the it's been years, so this is the best of me in 8 tracks. You know what I mean? Is that a lot of pressure?
Well, she's fucking with her hair and she's pulled out about 100 pieces while you asked that question, so maybe.
Right.
Oh, because I'm twirling my hair. I know. This is how I think, though. It's like when guys do this with their beard, it like when they like it for some reason this looks like smart, but when
doing
you
your
do
chin,
this, it look like
right.
Like people think I'm like you're like look dumb or like you're flirting or like you've got anxiety about your album, which of course I do, but I do think it's like some pressure. I would like it to be better than the last one, and the thing about I don't know if you guys have recorded any albums, but like when you put your jokes down, that's as you're putting it down, like it's finished. And inevitably a week later, you think of the tag, like a much better, but at some point you just have to be like, that's it. Like, this is where it is. It's as good as I can make it. And I hope people enjoy it, and I'm ready to like. It's just because also like some of these jokes are. I have a whole bit about getting a hysterectomy on the day of the insurrection, and
You sure
like
picked
who knew my
dates.
I do, right? Like who knew my uterus what was holding this country together, and
Are
I
you gonna have a baby on 9/11? What's up next?
I don't have a uterus,
No,
I
right.
come on,
There are lots
you're
of
a woman.
lots of ways to have a baby.
It is very confusing. I don't blame her.
That's true. I do have a few frozen embryos if someone has a uterus. Well, my wife does actually. Anyway, listen,
What?
we're just getting over
You
working
forgot there's a
together.
second
We're not-
uterus in their
We do
relationship.
have another uterus.
I'm an asshole.
Are you into kids, or this is just a better safe than sorry?
Well, I did freeze the eggs a while back, and then we were really on the fence. Like, we're so jealous of people that just know, like, oh, I want to be a mom so bad, or I definitely don't want kids. Both of us were exactly like on the fence. And then like the pandemic happened. We're like, besides the fighting and all that, we were so happy we didn't have kids during that time in the house. And I don't know, it feels a little bit late now. I'm really into my role as an aunt. Like I take that really seriously.
Love it.
Put a lot of love and time, and it's a pleasure.
Cool. All right.
To that gay aunt, crazy comic, Jewish married to Palestinian gay aunt.
Did your parents or her parents have a problem with the relationship, Palestinian and Jewish?
Her problems,
Right.
her parents.
Gender neutral
This
term for
isn't
parents.
live, right? The
Right.
problems. Her parents, I think, predominantly had an issue with her being gay. It was also new for them since she hadn't been in a relationship or with a woman before.
Right.
And she waited some time to tell them. And so then by the time she told them, it wasn't that long after that we got engaged. So it was like, I think a lot. But her parents are very, they're very sweet with me. They're very, hospitable people, and they didn't come to our wedding. Like we joke about how her parents are in the closet about not being homophobic. Like it's a lot of it is for other people to show that they're like not okay with it, but then they seem like we're affectionate in front of them and they're like completely normal. It's like at their house or on vacation or something, my side, the issue has been more the politics around Israel, Palestine, social media posts, like all of that has
Is your
been
family
a
from
huge
Israel?
issue. Zero, no.
I just think it's funny because, when we give people terms and boxes, we go, she's Palestinian, I'm Jewish, which is one is a country and one, and I get it. I'm not super ignorant, but it is interesting. Palestinian and Jewish. Jewish is a religion. Palestine is a place.
Well, I don't identify as Jewish as a nationality or anything. It's only just because a lot of the issues in my life with my family, politics, like I don't have like any like MAGA people that I deal with and that's where we butt heads on. But this is sort of that. So they have a lot of issues with me not being a Zionist and Eman being like if Eman was Muslim from another country, it would be a lot easier. And so I just say Jewish.
Have your parents ever lived in Israel?
No.
I think that's so funny. You could be a Zionist from afar. What does that actually mean though?
It's just, they haven't done this like they just feel like they have to support Israel. Like they're just, it's the way Jewish people in the diaspora grow up. It's like, you have to unlearn it. Like when I realized that Hatikva is the Israeli national anthem, it was a while into my life, because when I had my synagogue in Montreal or at the end of Hebrew school, we always sung Hatikva. And in my mind, because we learned Hebrew and I didn't know what any of it meant, it was just, we learned how to say the prayers. I thought it was just like, this is the goodbye prayer. Like, this is the end prayer. I didn't realize I was singing the Israeli national anthem. Why am I singing the Israeli national anthem in Canada? Or any kid, like there are people I could say this to who are Jewish, would be like, what do you mean Hatikva is the Israeli national anthem? I always sang it in my school in the US, or like, I mean, that's how pervasive so it takes a lot of work to undo this. And also there is all that fear that you talk about. So people feel like, if like Israel is essential to Jewish survival, and yet like and there is a legitimate basis. It's not like the white guy that's watching Fox News. It's like people are trying to get rid of us. It's like that's completely fabricated and propagated. Like that's not borne out by any reality. But there is a history of this, so there is a legitimate fear. But
Jewish stars, they're coming after us.
Yeah. So yeah, it takes a lot for so even though never lived in Israel, not connected, it's deeply like embedded in the psyche and in the education and in the communities and all the organizations and in the synagogue. And if you take a different position from that and you say, no, I'm just not a Zionist. Zionism is a political movement. It's not the religion. I'm proud to be Jewish. I just don't believe in Zionism.
Well, there's also further, I'm not a Zionist and I was born in Israel and I'm not Jewish anymore. I'm an atheist. But if I say that to anybody, especially Jews, they're like, no, you'll always be Jewish. Like, okay, I thought it was a belief system and a religion.
No, but it's true that it's not a nationality, but it is. I
know I would be on the train with you. I get it.
However, you would definitely be on the train.
I'd go first, and you're claiming
you
to
might be there before me.
Yeah, but I don't believe in any of it. I don't believe in it. I believe it only, but I don't believe in religion. So that's a whole nother time.
When your wife,
but yeah, there's a cultural aspect to Judaism ethnically. Yeah. Sorry,
how did your wife come out to you? Her parents I'm picturing like, I'm dating a Jew. What? And I'm gay. Who are you dating, a Jew? Like, did it make it easier? I don't know. Here's what you want to do. You want to follow Jess online, JessSalomon.com, and her social media handle is the same with a underscore in between, Jess_Salomon. And very nice meeting you, Jess. Thanks so much for your time.
You too. I should say it's Salomon. A lot of people, the other spelling is more, my grandmother was Solomon. Yeah. No, my grandmother was Solomon SOL and married my grandfather Solomon SAL. So
oh my God. And then she had to take that name. LOL.
You still have to change it.
Holy shit. She changed her name. Motherfuckers.
Right. And the husband was like, are you calling her Solomon or Solomon?
Right.
Because it's Solomon, not Solomon.
When she's being sassy or flirting, and that is like, I'm Solomon.
All right, everybody.
That would be her.
Right. Info at KeithAndTheGirl.com. That's how you rate us. KeithAndTheGirl.com/VIP. That's what you want to take a look at. And of course, hit the stars, the thumbs up, all that shit. All right. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
KeithAndTheGirl.com.